just did a bad thing.
This is why you should always trust your gut. In the 1970s, a young couple decided to go for a late-night hike in the woods. A couple minutes into their walk, and the man remembers thinking something's not right. He tells his girlfriend, but they just decide to ignore it and keep going, until he steps on something that felt really soft, like it was alive. Before he has a chance to see what he stepped on, they hear all this rustling in the bushes next to them, and they bolt. Years later, that couple turns on the TV, and a death row inmate who's about to be executed is being interviewed. And they ask him, was there ever a time that you were almost caught red-handed? He responded, yes, one time. I was in the woods, and a couple walked through, and the man actually stepped on the body of a girl I had just killed. I was hiding in the bushes just a few feet away. They didn't see me. That couple had run into one of the worst serial killers of all time, Ted Bundy.
One time when I was in 8th grade, I got a hickey on my neck because I had daddy issues, and my teacher noticed and sent me to the principal's office, and the principal was like, I'm calling your mom, and I was like, I burned my neck with a curling iron on accident, and she was like, no, you didn't. So on the bus ride home, luckily my best friend and I shared the same bus stop, and I asked her if I could go to her house really quick to burn my neck with her curling iron, and she said yes. So when I walked into the house, my mom was literally ready to beat my ass, and I was like, Mom, look, it's just a curling iron burn. And she was like, wait, yeah, that's clearly just a curling iron burn. And she got so mad, and she called the principal, and she demanded that she apologize to me. And the principal had to apologize to me, and to this day, my mom still doesn't know.
I will never, and I mean never, forget the time that we had a male sub in high school and a girl asked to go to the restroom and he said sure. So she grabbed something and he heard a wrapper and he was like, oh, if you're gonna eat candy, you can do it in here, but you have to share with everyone in the class. And she was like, what? And he was like, well, I heard the wrapper. And she whips out a tampon, shoves it in his face, and she goes, you want to share? Oh, girl, savage. My neighbors saw me naked. Story time. So sometimes a bitch sleeps naked because I get hot as fuck and because I heard a lot of good things about it. But anyways, this particular night, a bitch was naked and I woke up out of my slumber thirsty as fuck. Like I was literally feeling like SpongeBob when he went to Sandy's. But a bitch didn't put on clothes like a normal person because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning and no one was up. So I thought it would be a good idea to get out of bed and get water naked. So I'm getting my water and minding my own business. And my boyfriend's mom decides to come out of the room. And she knew I was in the kitchen, but she didn't know I was naked. And she starts walking towards me. And I was like, oh, hell no. I wasn't about to have my boyfriend's mom see me naked. You got me fucked up. So I thought it would be a good idea to run outside the back door, which leads to our backyard. But because I did that, my boyfriend's mom obviously thought it was suspicious. So she opens the back door and calls my name. So I run through the side of the house to get to the front of the garage door. My thought process at the time, I was going to put in the garage code to get into the house through the garage. But that didn't happen. Part 2 gonna be funny.
My daughter Savannah is the CEO of faking illness to get out of school. So when she does not feel like being there, she will go to the nurse's office and complain to them that she is really not feeling good so that they call me and I have to go get her. Well, one day after this happens, I walk into the administrative office and everybody is really concerned because Savannah is sitting in a chair like so dramatically like, hi, Mom. And like when I saw her, I burst out laughing. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And everybody looked at me like I was some really bad mom. Like, oh my God, why aren't you more concerned? But as we were walking out, she was walking really slow and actually didn't look good. So even I was a little concerned. I was like, oh my God, honey, are you okay? Until we got to the car when Savannah looks at me and goes, you know what, Mom? I feel better now. And I was like, Savannah, are you serious? And she's like, Mom, do you maybe want to go to Starbucks and have like a girls' day? And I was like, honey, what kind of question is that? You know I do.
This is why you should be careful what you put in the mail. In 2015, a man was asked by his neighbor to collect his mail while he was gone for a few weeks. A few days later, a large package arrives on his neighbor's front porch. The man can barely lift it, but gets over to his garage where he accidentally drops it and hears something break inside. Hoping his neighbor would think the damage occurred en route, he closes his squeaky garage door and forgets about it. But over the next couple of days, whatever was in that package started to smell so bad that he decides to open it up. Inside were two very important finds: his neighbor, who was dead, and a camera that was still recording. The police bring the man in for questioning and show him what was on the camera inside the box. It starts with his neighbor talking to the camera about how excited he is to mail himself home for his YouTube channel. Then, police fast forward to the very end where they see that the neighbor is now sleeping in the box, and then suddenly gets dropped and you hear a crack, and that's his neck breaking. And then you hear a squeaky garage door close.
It was on Valentine's Day. Okay. Very romantic. And I was in the toilet paper aisle because I did have diarrhea. What a dream to have diarrhea on Valentine's Day. Mwah. And all of a sudden, this has never happened to me before, I fainted. So when I black in, there are two people standing over me, an old lady and a very attractive gentleman. And the old lady's like blocking him and she's like, "You're okay. Everything's okay." And I'm like, "Bitch, no, I'm not okay. You're standing between me and my future husband." So finally she moves and it turns out that the young hottie is the EMT. And he's like touching my head and he's asking me all these questions. He's like, "What's your name? Do you know what day it is? Where do you live?" And I'm like, okay, wow, he is obsessed with me. He's like, "When's the last time you ate?" I'm like, oh my God, he is about to ask me out to dinner on Valentine's Day. His next question was, "Are you on any medications?" And I was like, okay, yes, I'm on birth control, but I'm not that easy. That is a second date question. We get to the hospital. He rolls me up next to this person who's definitely on drugs. And I turn around to see where he went and he's gone. Here's the moral of the story. Men are pigs and they will string you along and they will break your heart on Valentine's.
This is one of the biggest lies I ever told to get myself out of trouble. So back in high school, I used to run on the cross-country team, but by no means was I competitive or athletic at all. I was honestly just there for the social aspect of it. All throughout my freshman year of high school, I would literally run to Cold Stone Creamery to get ice cream and bring it back to everyone on my bus. I don't know if that tells you what kind of athlete I was, but yeah. Somehow I still didn't get caught for doing this stuff, and by later in high school, my friends and I decided to pretty much never go. I mean, we would show up to practice, but we would wait until everyone was ahead of us and then turn the opposite direction and sprint to Starbucks. We literally did this almost every single day. And then we would call cute boys from other schools to come meet us over there. We would literally get coffee with them, go shopping, and then once we saw the team getting close again, we would just run back to school and pretend like we did the workout. Until one day, I was called down to the principals. They said it had to do with my cross-country attendance. Follow, share, and I'll tell you what happened next.
One time I was at the dinner table when I was like 6, because I had to be. My dad goes, "How was school today?" I said, "It was good, but someone pushed Tyler off the seesaw." "And where were you?" "I was over on the bench." "And what did you do?" "Nothing, I was over on the bench." "But you saw what happened?" "Yeah, because I was over on the bench." "So you saw what happened and you did nothing?" "Yeah, because I was sitting over on the bench." Let me ask you this. In Nazi Germany, when people saw what the Nazis were doing and they did nothing, were those good people? "Oh no, those are bad people. You gotta stop the Nazis." But you saw what they were doing to Tyler and you did nothing because I was over on the bench.
Story time. So I'm a Christian, right? But I wasn't a Christian my entire life. I actually, for the longest time, grew up fearing Christians. So at the time, I was going to this really old school church. I'm talking like the type that separate boys and girls when they're teaching. Anyway, so the service just ended and everybody's going outside and saying hi to everybody and, talking, hanging out. And listen, my daddy issues started from a very young age, so I really liked playing with boys. And the boys are just pretending to scare each other. So I was like, oh, I can play that. That sounds like fun. So I go up to the group of boys and I'm like, boo. Because that's what they're playing. But keep in mind, the person that I scared was an adult man that I later found out is actually the husband of the woman that owns the church. So this grown-ass man turns around, doesn't even look me in the eye, and bitch slaps me. He hit me on this cheek. A grown man hit this cheek. Part 2 coming out.
Whenever somebody asks me how I got so good at makeup, I just tell them about the time that my mom put me in solitary confinement for 2.5 months with no phone, radio, TV, computer, nothing like that. I couldn't even eat dinner with my family. They put cameras outside my room so that I couldn't leave without them knowing. I had to call on the intercom to ask to use the bathroom. But my mom gave me a curling iron, a straightener, and a crap ton of makeup to keep myself busy. And then she told everybody she knew that I tried to kill myself, and that's why she had to put me in solitary confinement. So when I went back to school that fall, I had a lot of explaining to my friends about why I had been missing for the last 2.5 months with no contact, but at least I came out kinda hot.
In high school, I had a friend who lived in this old, small apartment building. And on the first floor was this old guy named Dave who had apparently lived in the building forever. And no one really knew what Dave's deal was. The only time people saw him is when he walked outside to walk his tiny dog. But other than that, he never left his apartment. He had a nephew who delivered him groceries once a week. My friend just assumed that Dave was too old or had some sort of sickness that prevented him from leaving the house. One day, my friend was coming home from school and Dave's nephew was leaving the apartment building. And my friend is really sweet, so she was like, "Hey, I know Dave sometimes has troubles getting out of the house, so if you ever need me to go over there and bring him something, let me know. I'm always happy to help." And the nephew looked really shocked and terrified. He was like, "No, you should never go over to Dave's ever." And then he got really awkward and he was like, "Okay, gotta go, bye." And then a few weeks later, my friend was coming home from a Halloween party late at night. And when she got inside her apartment building, Dave's door on the first floor was wide open. And it was pitch black inside his apartment. But then she heard something behind her.
This is a crazy story time of when I used to work at Tilly's, so buckle up. This middle-aged mom walks in the store, right? And she just starts walking around the men's section and literally just grabbing everything she sees. I mean, she's not even looking at the sizes. So we thought that was weird, so we went up and asked her if she needs any help, and of course she said no. Then she decides that she wants to try everything on. So I unlocked a room for her, and then I told her that she can only have 7 at a time, and she literally had a million things, and she just ran in, shut the door, and cut me off. So we started to get suspicious, so I started talking over my little headset thingy and telling the people around the store what's going on. We knocked on the door like 3 times asking if she needed help or needed any other sizes, and of course she just said no again. Then she comes barging out and literally runs to the front door and just leaves. So I walk in to see, and there's literally a bloody tampon on the floor. 2 days later, she comes back to the store.
So this is probably my favorite story about my cheating ex. As many stories as I have on him, this one happened after we were broken up. He had left me for a girl that he was seeing on the side, and we hadn't spoken in months. We had both blocked each other on pretty much everything. But as most girls do, I do have my fake Instagram account, and he seemed pretty happy in his new relationship. I believed that until I got a DM from a girl. She sent me screenshots of messages and fake accounts that he had made to communicate to her. So he had literally been cheating on the girl that he was with now with her the whole time. I literally don't understand people sometimes. Both him and I were in the same friend group, mostly because we pretty much grew up together. So I talked to another member of the group about what we should do. Now, I believe in karma and that people get what they deserve, but who's to say that I'm not karma? So we decided to show up to his house with not only the girl he was cheating with, but all the girls he cheated on me with. And take care of this, I kid you not, game show style. Follow, share, interact, and I'll do a part 2.